Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I am back with a book talk, and it's one that I finished last night, and I can quite easily say, hand on heart, it's one of the best books that I've ever read, and that is the sequel to A Court of Thorns and Roses, and this one is A Court of Mist and Fury. So like I said, this is book 2, this is a trilogy. I have done a book talk already on book 1, so it's hard to really give a non-spoiler section about this book without giving spoilers for book 1. So I'm just going to give a vague little wrap up. So basically book 1 follows a girl who's human, and she lives on one side of the wall in human lands, and on the other side there are fairies. This is a fantasy series split into different courts. She is not necessarily captured, but she is taken across the wall to live in the fairy lands, and because of something that happened, her family are safe, and that's why she goes. A whole lot of shit goes down in the first book. A whole lot even more goes down in this. I'm not going to say what happens in this in a non-spoiler section, but we pick up right where we left off at the end of book 1. If you're into... I previously have said I don't like fantasy. I've said that I'm not interested in Sarah J Maas books. Since reading A Court of Thorns and Roses and this, I have gone out and bought every single one of her books because the way she writes is just insane. I can't believe I've left it this long. I'm glad, because I can binge the series. But if you're into like a different world, I really struggled to get into worlds like this, and I didn't struggle at all. There were some bits that I had to like reread just to make sure that I understood what was going on. But if you're into like getting into a different world that's not too difficult, there aren't too many difficult words. That's one thing that I really struggle with, like fantasy series, or like just different series in general. This is, it's okay, it's easy to get into. If I can get into it, anyone else can. There's a lot of like slow burn romance, a lot of dutty scenes, if you know what I mean. It's just like a romance fantasy, but action-packed, and so much more than that. Like, you care about the world, you care about all the secondary and third characters, yeah, secondary characters and third and fourth and so on and so forth. It's just a masterpiece. I've never read anything like it in my life, and that's all I can say for the non-spoiler section, is just to go out and give it a go. Get it from your local libraries if they open, or if they are open near you. I hope that they will be soon. Buy it on Kindle, find it online. I could not rave about this enough. I'm currently feeding Florence, which is why you're only seeing one hand. That's it for my non-spoiler section. One of the best books I've ever read, will always remain in my heart. I just loved it. It felt like there were so many different action scenes going on. So much happened in this book. It's just over 600 pages long, and it felt like I'd read 2000 with all the information and all the knowledge and all the depth. And that's another thing that I loved about this book, is that there is so much depth. I don't think I've ever read any characters with so much depth, and I've read a lot of books. So if you haven't read it, go away and then come back and we can chat all things spoilers, because it's needed, and I love it so much. So much. I cried. So if you haven't read it, go away. I'm now going to sit and talk for probably 30 minutes talking about all my spoilers. So go and read ACOMAF and then come back and we can just pretend that we're fairies and just love Reese and everything in between. So, right, that's your warning. I'm gonna quickly make sure that Florence feeds, finish their feed, and then I'm gonna sit and talk to you all about just everything. Hiya. Oh. Sorry about my appearance, and sorry that I've got Florence. Yes, I know, it might be quite distracting, but I just don't have any other time to film this video. Don't be screaming like that throughout the video, it's not fair. No, it's not fair. Today is our... that hurts. today is our snow day, so Pete and Neil are out playing in the garden, and I was like, just go away for 20 minutes and let me just sit and gush about this book whilst it's still fresh in my mind, because I finished it last night, or like this morning at like 12:30. That's how dedicated I was to finishing the book, because I just, you and your sticky hands. It's not funny, it really hurts. Yeah, I just needed to finish it. Stop it! I don't even know where to start with my feels for this book. It absolutely broke me in so many different parts. I loved it so much. You know when you like hear so many good things and you're like, I'm just not gonna get there. I'm not gonna have the feels. I'm not gonna love it as much as everyone else does, and it's really, really overhyped. Like, I'm just not gonna be on board. Florence, you're not having the camera. So worth all the love and all the hype and everything that goes with it, because it was fantastic. The way it was written, the storylines, the character development, just absolutely everything just blew me away. So I've written notes in my notepad because I don't want to forget anything. I'm just going to give you a recap and everything that I loved about it. I'm going to have to go and move Florence because she is making a lot of noise. Right, do you want to go and play with some toys? We see Feyre after 3 months has passed after Under the Mountain, and we see her with Tamlin, and we see her really struggling to come to grips with obviously her turning from a human to a fairy and everything that goes on with that, like the slight shifts and change, and her suddenly having magic and everything in her system, and she is sort of suffering with it all. And she tries to reach out to Tamlin and to Lucian, and she gets rejected and she gets put in a hole. And I understand why people don't like Tamlin. I really do get it, and I don't like him either, but I don't think he is as bad as people hate him, and I get it, but my feeling, I don't hate him as much as everyone else, I don't think. I think he's just blinded by love and control, and that's awful. But I don't know, it's a weird one. Like, he doesn't want to slit her throat or be like really nasty. He just wants to keep her all to himself. So as much as I hate him, I really, really hate the king and jury and things like that, because they're nasty. Whereas Tamlin, I don't know, he's just really troubled. Don't get me wrong, he's done some awful things that we learnt in this book. But I don't know, it's a weird one. And I think because we didn't see as much of him in this book, it was hard to like massively hate on him, I guess. So we obviously start the book with them two. They are living together in the spring court. They are planning to get married and things are ticking along, but you can see and sense the fact, the storyline that she feels trapped and she feels really like hopeless, and he's not helping her learn how to control her magic, and he's not being like a supportive partner, and it's making her resent him and making her stress out. We haven't heard from Reese at this point, because she got the tattoo in the last one, which was the bargain. So he would help her in the previous book. So she would then spend a week of every month of her life with him at the night court. On her wedding day, we then see her stressed and trying to figure out how to get free, and she's just like, if anyone can help me, please help me, please help me, like I don't want to be here, I don't want to do this. And then in comes Reese, and I'm like, oh, where is this going to go? Because I went into this book not knowing a single thing. I had no clue how it was going to happen. I didn't even read the blurb. I just wanted to go in and just be completely surprised. My previous book talk, I loved Reese because of his cocky and arrogant persona, and obviously we see in this book that that is not him at all, and he is he is cocky, but a lot of what other people see is a mask, and he's putting it on to protect his people. And we see so much development with Reese. We see him take Feyre to his house, and he teaches her how to read, which obviously I know has like a further benefit later on down the line for reading the books. But you can tell that he does it to help better her and to be there for her and to be the person to, like, I don't know, make better of herself, because he really truly believes in her, and that's what I loved so much. Sorry if you can hear Florence screaming in the dining room. She's a very chatty baby. She spends a couple of weeks at Reese is obviously in different time frames, and the time when she's back home in the spring court, Tamlin's still pushing her away and not allowing her to like walk around the grounds without people following her, or like she's like in captivity, and push comes to shove and she begs Lucian, it's like, please just let me go out for an hour, like just let me help, like do something, let me train and control my magic because I don't know what's going on. And they ignore her, and she just, I don't really know what happened, but she just basically erupted and shit hit the fan, and more came along and saved her. I can't remember the rules and stuff, but I know that Reese couldn't go in, it had to be more, and she pulled her out of the spring court and saved her. And then the decision was given to her by Reese, you can go back whenever you want, but if you want to stay with us in the night court, then you're more than welcome to. Introduce her to Velaris and show what he's done over the God knows how many years of keeping this little sacred city safe and secure away from all the big and the bad. And we slowly start to pick at his personality and see that what other people see is a mask, and people see him as this awful person when actually he is giving so much of himself to keep these people in the city safe and secure so that no one knows about them. And it's heartbreaking, it's lovely and it's beautiful, but at the same time it's like, oh, he's sacrificing himself, and he's sacrificing how people view him in the world to keep that city from other people. And I don't know, you just see like a completely different side to him, and it just pulled on my heartstrings. So obviously she decided to stay, and we got introduced to the inner circle. So we introduced to Cassian and Azriel. We got introduced to what we already sort of knew more previously, and Amaran. Again, sorry if I'm pronouncing all of these wrong. And initially I was like, these people are weird, but throughout the book you learn that the way that they interact with each other is what a family, like how a family are, like the way they speak to Reese, they're not scared of him, like they give it back, there's the banter, there's the jokes, and it's so lovely. Like throughout the book you read and you understand and you see the connections, and it's so raw, and they would fight to the death for each other, and I loved it. And seeing Feyre start to become a part of that after not really having that for so long, I just loved it. Chef's kiss. The scene when they went to the bone carver really freaked me out. A couple of scenes actually freaked me out quite a lot. So when they went to the bone carver and the walls would like talk and things like that, it was like a really creepy prison, and you had to like provide him with the bone so he could carve it into whatever he wanted to get information. And we basically found out that the king was planning to destroy the wall between humans and fae, which wasn't good because he wants slaves and things like that, and because he wasn't allowed slaves, he killed all the humans or something. Again, that bit's still quite vague. I need to do my research and really read up on that. So they had to go and discover, it was either the cauldron or the book, and they basically got the answers from the bone carver. But when you go to see him, you see different faces. So Feyre saw an 8-year-old boy. So I'm just watching someone throw snow at Neil's fan. And Reese saw Durian, which is the guy that was in the ring of Armantha. I know that's not how you pronounce it, but that's how I pronounce it. So that was freaky. Another scene that really stuck with me was the Weaver scene with the house. And she had to go in to retrieve the ring to prove that she had the ability to like scent things out. Sort of like a sniffer dog, I guess. That's how I imagined it. I also imagined it like in Harry Potter, when they go to find the Horcrux and Harry finds it in Thingy's vault, that's again how I imagine this with this ring. Like, she was just drawn to it, and then as soon as she got it, the doors shut, and it wasn't like yarn that she was spinning, it was like people's body parts, and it was just so grim and so freaky. Like, that scene made me sweat when she was like climbing up the chimney and trying to claw her way out, and Reese was just probably just lounging in the tree waiting for her to get back. I was just like, oh my god, what's going on? This is too much. This is, I can't cope. Said there was loads of like different little parts that happened in it. So obviously you had the bone carver section, you had the weaver section, you had the section when they had to go to the summer court. So after going to the weavers, we found out that obviously she can detect these things that sort of, she can feel the energy within her, because she's different. She's a part of all 7 different like high fae. So we need to go to the summer court because that is where one half of the book is. There's one in the fairylands, which is in the summer court, and one in the human worlds with the queens. And she goes to get it from there. And again, that scene at the end with Amryn and Feyre going down into that little room where the book was, and then the book knew that it wasn't. She pretended to be the summer, what's it called, summer high fae called Tarek, something like that, and it was like, you're a liar, and trapped them in, and then it was filling up with water, and I was like, oh my god, what the fuck is going to happen? They're going to die, someone's going to die, someone's going to die. And then they got saved by the people that she helped previously. Like, it was just so much went on. It was just so action-packed, and that was only maybe like 1/3 into the book. I loved the letters that Reese and Feyre used to write to each other. It was sort of like texting, but pen to paper, and it would like disappear and then it would come back again. And I loved the relationship in the start, before like things started to get more in depth. I loved like the flirty banter that they had, and the fact that she was never afraid of him. He would say something and she'd be like, oh, piss off, or fuck off, or you're a prick, or whatever. And I loved that so many people outside of like his little circle were terrified of him, but she felt safe, and she never cared. She never cared about what she had to say, and she put him in his place, and she fought for what was right. And I absolutely love her as a character. I think she's so strong and determined. She does do some things that piss me off, but at the same time, I think she's great, and I absolutely loved her. I also loved Reese, obviously, like I said at the start. In the first one, I was all like Tamlin, because that's all we really saw. And then Reese is portrayed in this arsehole persona, which you see is not a persona in book 2. But all the in-depth knowledge that you get about Reese, so like things that happened with Tamlin, and Tamlin like destroying his family, and the feud that went on, and you see how he's cared for like Mor and Cassian and Asriel, and we see their story, and you see how they've shaped to become these people, and how Tamlin and Reese became High Lords at the same time, because obviously there was the assassination between their families. Just so much depth, and we see like how he protected his people against Armantha, and how he sacrificed himself to save the city. He became her whore, and he did all of her dirty work to save his people. And it was just, it's really sad when you actually think about it. Like, he's trapped, but he's doing everything that he can, and what a strong character he is. And I think that is why people love him so much, is because he's so flushed out, and there's so many different layers and levels. Like, you've got the cocky bastard, but you've got the really caring, sincere person that would fight to the death for his people, for his city. And it's just so special, and I loved learning about Reese. I found it so interesting. We see them go and meet the queens, which are arseholes. I was really iffy about them anyway. I still don't really understand like the human section of like the book and the queens. I'm sure that's going to get more flashed out in the 3rd and final book. Yeah, I didn't trust them, and to prove that they were good, they had to sort of give a piece of them to show, look, we are good, like we're telling the truth. And later on down the line they did that and showed them Velarus, which bit them in the arse. They also show the queens that they had like this special space. They weren't going to take the queens to there, but they wanted to show them like visually. So again, I imagine it like Harry Potter, they needed to get this orb from the Court of Nightmares. And that scene when they basically had to distract people within the court whilst was it Asriel or Cassian? They had to go and get the orb, and I just imagined the orb in Order of the Phoenix, the little prophecy ball. That's how I imagined it, like a little glass ball with like swirling smoke and blue and stuff. I couldn't, just that scene of them being so provocative. It was sort of leading up, and it was such a slow burn, this book. Like all the little like love note, they weren't love notes, all the smutty notes and like the little side glances and everything. It was all leading up, and then I feel like this one was the one that really stoked the fire when they were being so provocative and so sexual, and they were both acting as if they were acting when actually they weren't, and it was just, it made me sweat. It was too much. It wasn't too much, it was brilliant. Fucking loved it. But it was just, oh, it was just too good. So they were the distractions, so they were able to get the orb, and it was just, like I said, so many different components to the book, and I'm not even halfway through my notes yet. I need to speed this up. When Rhys and Feyre went to the camp, so it was really interesting to see the camp. Normally like you hear about it, but actually to go and visit where they'd done their training and where they'd been living for so many years and where they'd all met and things like that, and you learn about like the fights and things that they used to have to do. And so they wanted Feyre to really master her magic, so they've been working on it up to this point, but now it was time for her to go off with Rhys as opposed to Cassian and really like learn it and harbour it for potential later on war, because they were planning for the war. I swear they were training and then Lucian turned up. That is what happened, and then he was going to grab her, and they still were chasing her even though she'd sent letters and said like, I don't want to be with you, like we're done, leave me alone, don't find me, don't seek me, and they were still after her because they thought that Rhys had like warped her brain, which shows how much of a strong character he is, because people perceive him like that. When they went to the inn, again, another steamy scene. That was a lot. That was intense. Thoroughly enjoyed that. Slightly didn't really like the fact that he like started to do things in like a grotty inn, but I enjoyed it all the same. I thought it was just brilliant. And then when I think they were going back to the camp, and then they got shot out of the sky with the ash arrows, and I was like, fuck, he's gonna die, he's gonna lose his wings, something seriously is gonna hit the fan. Like, I don't know how this is gonna like progress from here. And she saved him, and then found out through the serial that they were mates. And again, I sort of knew that something was more than what it was, but I didn't think it was mate. I didn't really understand it until I read more about it. I didn't think it was that, and I was really cross at Feyre when she was angry that he hadn't told her. But I understand why he didn't. He couldn't force her into it. She had to develop those feelings herself, and for her to be cross at him, I didn't like that. But I loved the scene when they went to the cabin. I've read it so many times. When she went to the cabin after like Rhys was okay and she saved him and things like that, and she was on her own and she painted the stars, and I just absolutely loved when he came and he found her after asking for her to be on her own. I think she was there for like a week or something, and he explained everything. So she offered him some food, and he was like, you're offering me food? And she was like, I don't know the rules. So if you offer someone food as a high fae, that's basically saying that you accept. It's sort of like accepting a proposal sort of thing. And it was so interesting sitting and reading everything that Sarah had produced. Like, it was all for this. Like, it was like she knew in a Court of Thorns and Roses what was going to happen, and everything intertwined and everything made sense. And I was like, oh my god, like, I can't. She was painting stars when she was human, didn't even know what was going on. She was painting stars because he saw her, and it blew my mind. And learning about everything and how they cross paths, and when it suddenly twigs for him in the end of book 1, and everything that was going on, it was just beautiful. It was, I can't vocalise. It was like 12:30 at night when I was reading that bit, and I was like, what? There were no words, like I couldn't. And obviously she accepted, and everything that went on after that, like the sexy scenes, and I was like, oh, just too much, just too much. And I only had like a sliver left of the book. There was hardly anything left, and I was like, it's not going to end on a happy note. Like, it can't end on a happy note. It didn't. Valaris, however you want to pronounce it, got destroyed. It was attacked by like those Ator things. The queens are arseholes. Luckily they managed to save it, and seeing Feyre be really badass when Cassian was like, go back to like the house, like you'll be safe there, and she was like, no, these are my people, like this is my home, I'm gonna save it. And she did her like little water wolves to get the people. It was just too much. Again, I was reading it at like midnight, and I was sweating, and I was like, someone's gonna die. I thought Cassian was gonna die. I didn't know what was gonna go on. So good, so good. And then we had the ending. So obviously they had the attack, so they needed to get these books sorted. So Amren had stopped or finally wiped out the codes and things like that, and we had to go to the king's castle, wherever it was, in Highburn, something like that. I passed this information because I was just absorbing it so much. So they had to go and get the cauldron and break it and take the books or do something. And whilst it was happening, I was like, no, let's not do that. Like, it's fine, let's do that in the next one. Like, you've just got your city back, let's just make that better, and then we can go again. They didn't, and they went in and shit hit the fan. Amren told her not to put the 2 book halves together, and she did it. And then Jurian suddenly turned up, and it was just very fast paced. I got very confused. And all of their powers got nullified, so they couldn't speak through the bond, which was one of my favourite parts. I loved that bond. Just making sure that they were able to always just keep in touch with each other through their thoughts. I loved that little bit of communication. So everything just went dull. They couldn't winnow out. They couldn't do anything. They were trapped. Azriel got shot with an ash arrow or a knife or something, and I was like, he's gonna die, someone's gonna die. Then we go and see the king, and then Tamlin and Lucian are there, and I'm like, what the fuck's going on? And then the queens are there, and then the sisters are there, and I'm like, I can't breathe right now. It was just so much information. I had to reread it a couple of times. So basically, the king had made this cauldron so that if you put someone human in it, then they come out fey and immortal. So that's why the queens were there. So there was the bargain that Tamlin had allowed the king to go through his territory as long as he got Feyre. So they had to track Feyre, which they did, and then there was going to be the swap. I'm still not over it. The sisters got dunked in like the cauldron. I don't really know what I was imagining. I was imagining like just like a small bowl with thick black tar. I can't remember what was described in the book, but realistically it wouldn't have been small because you wouldn't have been able to put someone in it. So again, I need to reread like just some certain sections. When the first sister went in, Elaine, I thought she was going to die, and then she came out and she was fey, and then it was Lucian's mate again. Just too much. Let's talk about Lucian. I still really like him. I know I shouldn't because he's so loyal to Tamlin, but he does know right from wrong. But I think he feels like he can't stray from him. I feel like we're gonna like him in book 3. I think he's gonna, now that he's mated with her sister, I've got a feeling that he's gonna help Feyre, and I really like him. I still really like him, and I've got a feeling that he's gonna redeem himself, maybe sacrifice himself, I don't know, but I do still really like him. Then the second sister, Nesta, went in, and again I was like, she's gonna die. And she was really, I really liked how fierce she was, and she literally did not give a shit, and she like put her fingers up to the king, and she went in the weird cauldron thing, and then she came out and she just was mental. And again, really powerful, and I just too much action. Got to the point where Feyre knew there was no way out, so she needed to think and act quickly. Obviously everyone's powers were nullified, so she basically turned herself into like a ball of light, which shattered like the control that they had, so that then they could get their powers back. And I thought they're just going to win her out, they're going to be absolutely fine, and then there's going to be a war in book 3, but that didn't happen. She pretended that Rhys had her under control to Tamlin, because Tamlin was so sure that she was under his control when she wasn't. He never listened to what she was saying. He never took on board anything, and so she pretended, and she went along with Tamlin, saying like, oh my god, he's had me under control, like where am I, what's been going on, oh my god, break the bond. And I'm like, no, let's not break the bond, let's not do that. And she's like, no, break the bond, like I don't want to be with him, take me home. And I'm like, no, home is with Rhys, not with Tamlin. And he did it, and I was sobbing. I was sweating, I was sobbing. It was not a good time, but it was a fantastic time at the same time. And I was like, oh, that's it then. I just felt broken. And then we find out from Rhys's perspective, they winnowed home and they managed to get free, so they went home and she went back to the Spring Court. When we found out that they were still bonded, they broke the tattoo bargain, not the bond. I was like, oh. And that they were married, and she was the first High Lady of the Night Court. I'm just like, I just can't cope with all this information right now, and it was just, oh, so epic. That's all my notes that I've got down. I just can't. I could not imagine reading this book and then not having the third and final one to go on to. It hurts my heart that there's only one book left. I have no idea where it's going to go. It's going to be epic, because they're going to be playing so many different games. I really hope we still see them talking through the bond. I hope we still see a lot of Rhys. I'd quite like to see a POV from Rhys as well. Whether that'll happen or not, I don't know. I have no clue how it's going to end up. No clue. I couldn't tell you. Is the wall going to be broken? I'd like to hope that there'll be peace at last. Someone's going to die. Someone's going to die. No idea who. I wish it was longer than what it is, and I know that there are more books out there. Like I know there's the spin-off with Nesta, but I want more of these. I'm not ready to read it yet. I need to savour this and watch God knows how many book talks on it, and be at peace with this before I move on to the third. I am so happy that I'm finally into this series and this genre. For years I've said that I don't like fantasy, and now I'm a massive lover of fantasy romance. So like I said, I've gone out and I've got all of Sarah J Maas, Throne of Glass, which is like 8 books. If you want book talks on those when I eventually read them, let me know. If there are any other book recommendations out there that are similar to this, or not even similar, but just like a epic thing. That's I still need quite easy ones. I'm still very new to the genre. I'm gonna go. I need some food. I loved this series so much. If you've watched this and you haven't read it, then you're an idiot, and you should have read the books rather than be spoiled. I have no clue where we're gonna end up. I just hope that it all ends really well. I can't wait to read it, but I can at the same time. I'm now going to move on to Bridgerton, which is my book club with Jess pick for January. I'm filming this on the 16th of Jan. So, if I like it, I'll do a book talk maybe. Maybe I should start doing book talks every month on my book club book. Maybe that would be quite good. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Leave me comments below. Let's have a chat. Follow me on my book club Instagram, which is Book Club with Jess. And I shall see you all in my next video. Bye.